and we've seen huge improvements. Now our online traffic is up about, if I'm not mistaken, 300% from a year on year. And I think we're getting close to capturing, I'm not going to say the entirety of the public in the streetwear industry, but I think we are getting quite close to reaching certainly most of the people that are interested in what we propose. And I think, again, that's come down to the work done on the structure of the website, SEO, and digital living.
Welcome to the Heroes of E-commerce podcast, hosted by Russell Miller of Risio. On this show, we speak to e-commerce business owners and leaders, the unsung heroes taking their industry by storm. Tune in as we share success stories and discuss e-commerce ideas to take your business to the next level. So let's dive in.
Welcome everybody to Heroes of E-commerce. I am your host, Russell Miller, General Manager of Risio. We're an email marketing agency. With me today, I am super excited to have Kola Tytler of Dropout Milano. How are you doing, Kola?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Russell, and I am excited to take part in this.
Okay, so we're super excited to have you. For those of you who have not heard of Kola and Dropout yet, Dropout Milano is I would say the premier destination in Europe for sneakerheads. How would you describe it?
I guess that probably one of the things that we aim to be, one of those, probably can't say the destination, but we try to be amongst those spots that if you are interested in the sneaker culture, in the streetwear culture, basically you do have to visit type of thing. In the US, you have like Flight Club and Stadium Goods and maybe Round 2 and those type of places for people that are within this industry and which are interested in this culture. And Dropout aim to be basically almost one equivalent in our own version for Europe.
Got it. Now, are you based in Italy or in London?
So actually, I'm in London right now, and I am in London most of the time. So I work as a doctor in the NHS, which is the British National Health System. But in Milan, there's a full team. I would say in Italy actually, rather than Milan. And so I run operations remotely, and we liaise pretty regularly just over Teams and Zoom and WhatsApp, effectively.
And you're also a full-time doctor.
Yeah, correct.
I just want to pause for a minute that anyone who ever complains about their workload has never met Kola. Wow. Okay, so I have a math background and a little bit of software background, and there's a really neat kind of backstory here. So I'd love to dig into that and tell people a little bit about how the site evolved and like the hype analyzer story and where that came from.
Sure. So it truly is one of those, it's a long story type thing. But if we consider that I'd been interested in sneakers probably since I was an early teenager, I would say. But it probably when I got to about 16, 17, that I started reading and getting more passionate about the industry as a whole. And when I moved to the UK to study medicine, being more in contact with the limited edition sneakers concept in London, I started to see there could be a viable commercial opportunity within that space. As basically I moved on. Initially, it was just you buy one pair because you want to get the next pair, and then maybe you get two and you trade one for the other one until you grow your collection type thing. However, whilst doing that, basically, I quite early realized that most of the sales between private individuals happen between maybe someone who won a raffle or got a sneaker from any retailer or whatever, which actually goes on to sell it to a person who will themselves go on to sell it to a third person. Therefore, I would say actually the majority of transactions within the limited edition sneaker industry, at least certainly 7-8 years ago, were between people that were reselling to another party, if that makes sense.
Right.
So at that stage, I sort of started thinking, okay, if that's the case, surely that means that you could probably buy low and sell high effectively. I took that concept with me, and together with a friend of mine who's based in Rome, in Italy, we looked into how we could actually make this process as objective as possible. Because we thought, okay, imagine that you have X amount of money and there's more and more releases. That effectively means that you want to have the best strategy to select where you're going to put your money and what you think is going to go up in price, or what is going to worth the most, or what is going to give you the biggest delta between what you're paying and what you're selling for. So we basically developed a software because in the meantime started coding. I just learned it online, really, just on forums and YouTube, that type of thing. And my friend was also is now 24. So he was at the time about 17, 18. And we developed this software where we effectively scraped the major websites. We looked at the prices, and what we did was we looked at the trends for the prices. And based on the trends in particular, and based on how many listings were available, we developed a scoring system. Now, the scoring system obviously was based on criteria that we decided. However, it gave us a way of comparing hundreds of styles, which meant maybe we didn't know exactly what was going to go up, but with our experience and with this tool that was a lot more objective than we could be by taking out the emotional factor, we were able to decide which sneakers were more likely to go up in price. And basically by comparing the different sneakers, we started literally treating sneakers as an investment asset. We were putting money onto the sneakers that we thought would have the biggest delta. And then after a period of usually 6 to 8 months, we would sell them. And there effectively, this allowed us to make relatively decent profit, so much that we thought, okay, but we're still selling for the most part to people who are going on to sell. So we thought that the next natural step would be selling directly to the end consumer, because that would mean that, again, we're still buying for the cheapest, but we're selling for the highest possible price. And that effectively meant that we could now truly increase our margins in this operation. And that's effectively, in summary, how we ended up with the idea for Dropout. We did it in Milan. Neither me or this guy were based in Milan, but we knew people in Milan. So we got in touch with people there. We proposed the idea, we set up a team, and we managed to do it. And the software that we'd created, we basically expanded it so much that it now serves the purpose of figuring out what the best price is to buy where, what the best price is to sell where, which styles were more in demand, which styles were gathering the most interest. Until today, effectively, we still use this piece of software for these purposes. So we use it to determine our prices, which are fully automated, what we buy, how much we pay, what we display on the website, what we display in the store. And I think, if I'm not wrong, now about 2 years ago, we took the steps to actually patent the source code for the software in Italy, which gave us basically some tax advantages because it made Dropout a tech company as well. And that's basically how we got here from that perspective.
That is, I think, super, super cool, is because I don't have a lot of words, but I'll just use the same ones over and over again. And is Hype Analyzer, is that something that, it seems like it has its own website, so people can still like go do research and see how like a shoe is doing?
So yeah, it does, though it doesn't serve the purpose as it used to. Like before, initially it was really about work out what's going to be a good investment. But then obviously we realized that actually we can leverage this so much that we might as well make use of the information that the most useful information for us. But now it does serve a useful purpose, but truly it still gets like a decent amount of clicks, despite not being like, it doesn't have any advertisement or payment or anything like that. But it does give us a good amount of data, because actually we use it quite a lot for SEO purposes. We use it to send people to our Dropout selling platform in particular, and it gives us a little bit more of an idea of what people are, because consider Dropout's website is actually transactional for the most part, which means that we get some people are basically window shopping effectively on our website, which does skew the data. And on a Hype Analyzer, it's not as much. On Hype Analyzer, we see more of the interest that people have. With the tool, we can actually have a better idea as to where the interests lie. And again, as you can imagine, this gives us a better approach to spot trends, because really in our store, I think what we try to do is we try to be the store where you walk in January, in March, in September, and you see the cool stuff. But now we need to decide what the cool stuff is. And basically, Hype Analyzer is like an extra tool that allows us to understand what the cool stuff is. And that's how we use it.
That is super fascinating. Have you ever thought about extending it to like other areas, or I guess shoes is the focus right now?
I think, yeah, shoe is the focus. The thing is, the secondary sneaker market is an interesting place, because one thing that I probably don't like so much about it is that you are somewhat, I don't want to say dependent, but you are quite a lot reliant on X brand continuing with, first of all, the limited edition strategy. And then you are also quite a lot reliant on certain collaborations to land and to ensure that the products effectively proposed are of interest. So from that perspective, the scalability of that sector in itself, I don't think is that high, unless you perhaps it to like some of the platforms, like the US platform, StockX or GOAT, for example, where however their tech aspect is probably a lot more important than the sneaker aspect, then I think is a pretty difficult area to actually scale. I think we've done all of that, and we have created perhaps a platform where people know that they can buy sneakers from us. But for the last year or so in particular, we've been expanding onto more the apparel side and showing the streetwear culture as a whole for the most part, because there's a lot more room for expansion there. The margins are better there, and it allows us to tell a story that isn't necessarily so much tied to like Nike, for example. Although at the moment, I think at the moment, if you think about it, especially with the location of our store, I almost say that we are almost like an extra advertising tool for Nike and Adidas. Like you come to a store, most of the sneakers are Nike. You're in a pretty good location where Nike doesn't have a store. It's good for them and it's good for me, but actually I'd rather be in a position where we are actually scaling the exposure of our brand and increasing that. So I think for that perspective, our focus is more geared towards other aspects rather than scaling the pure sneaker side of things.
And the apparel, would that be original brands, or they would come out under the Dropout label, or would it be like reselling?
We sell a Dropout branded line. It's got a decent, I would say, reach. And certainly people do show interest in Milan, certainly. We do carry other brands as well. Since about, I would say probably now 8-9 months, we've been selling, put it this way, we now go to the UK, France, the US, and we look for brands that we think are aligned with our vision, that we think they're cool and they're doing their thing in those markets, but aren't present in Italy otherwise. And we basically import those brands in Italy and propose them to our public with the idea of showing that we show the cool stuff that is up and coming. And for those brands, we basically deal directly with the distributors themselves, which means we do get higher margins, for example, and we do get them directly from them. There's still a little bit of, for example, Supreme, which obviously we don't get it directly from Supreme, or we may, but it's more of like still like a resale type thing. We do a little bit of both, but the idea is to, I think, eventually start leveraging our power to expose the public to those cool brands and show what the streetwear culture is about via those new lines of those labels that we think align with Dropout.
If you were going to go back in time and kind of start the business again, what would you say to your younger self, if you're going to help your younger self kind of skip over some of the mistakes? What do you think are the most, knowing what you know now about Dropout, are the most core areas to focus on? Is it sourcing? Is it like advertising? Is it social media? Is it operations? Where do you think is really the edge for Dropout Milano?
I think, first of all, I think it's difficult for me to say, oh, I will skip this, because personally, I think everything is part of the journey, from the tiniest to the biggest mistake. Everything helped us to get where we are, number one, and it allowed me to grow as a person. I'm happy of everything. I would say, though, perhaps focusing on the brand itself, so literally branding, I think, is something that we did at the start, and also unknowingly, I think. And then because we did it unknowingly, I think it kind of maybe slipped and maybe went a little bit out of focus for maybe 1 to 2 years. And then over the last year and a half, we picked up again. And I think that's something that really brings results over the long term. And I think that our competitive edge now, which is probably a very difficult one to match, is that especially if you come to Italy, people generally know what Dropout is, like they've heard of it. And quite often I'm even in places like, which is not even Milan or outside, and maybe you're speaking with people and it's, oh, I'm not too clear what Dropout is, but I've heard of it. And that's a really good start, because actually the next step is, okay, now you know what it is, and now you know that you can trust it because you've heard of it before. It's not something that just drops out of the blue. And I think that's because of a good work on branding that we've done over the last year to year and a half. So I would say, to me, probably the biggest thing that I would say is always focus on why you're doing this. Mm-hmm. If you do focus on why, then you get a little bit more clarity, and that can help you in understanding and planning your strategy and your approach, and eventually your execution.
Okay, so that is super interesting, and I would love to dig into that a bit more. I haven't asked this of a guest before, but would you be able to screen share and show us some parts of the brand or like things you're really proud of, either on the website or other like products or things?
Yeah, just bear with me.
Okay. So I really like the idea of giving people an inside tour of the store and kind of the aspects of the brand, because it seems like super interesting. Yeah.
So now, for example, you should be able, my screen is on.
Yep.
Yeah. So I
Yep.
think it's okay. Put it this way now, to illustrate what I was talking about. For example, like now you open our website, our brand is there when you start, and I think that's something that we wouldn't have done before because we didn't think of it that way. I think before we were more like, oh, the most selling sneaker is, I don't know, whatever, the Nike X, Y, and Z. And so that would
Yeah.
be when you first come in. But actually, we realized that you can have like a bestseller section, which is displaying that anyway. And truly, you have to put in your focus on the product, that you want people to know. Because the reality is that, especially with our, I think, with our SEO power now, if people are looking for X product, they will come to our website regardless. Therefore, we might as well show them what we want to show them. That's something that we learned, I would say, effectively over time. And then I think, let me have a look. Maybe one thing that is I think is quite useful, which again, we didn't do before. I think we've only done over the last maybe 6-7 months, is actually adding the pages, some of the pages that talked about us, because that's it's external validation, to be honest. Because I think you go on a website and maybe you never heard of it before or whatever, but to see that actually Insider has talked about it, and Vice has talked about it, and Vogue has mentioned it, and Forbes has talked about it, and Hypebeast, blah, blah, blah. I think that actually adds a really strong voice to the credibility of the website. And the brand as well, to put that. And then for us, because we're in a physical location, to put that on the homepage, I think that also helps, because people know, okay, if there's a problem, whatever, there is a physical thing. It's not like a abstract entity that basically, who are they, where are they, whatever. Like that type of stuff really helps. I think maybe another thing that is interesting to see, let me see if I can find, I think we've recently, okay, so obviously my screen is in Italian, by the way, so apologies for the non-Italian speakers, but this is just to illustrate the picture. So we did out-of-home advertising for Fashion Week in Milan. So we took a billboard in one of the, basically in the luxury district. And I know this almost looks like a Photoshop. This is a real picture was taken. So we took a billboard, we took a tram as well, and the tram is still going around actually. And those are the sort of, I would say, again, branding exercises that, something that we wouldn't have done before, which we're doing now, which actually really help. Because the thing is, things like this also, we see them as they promote a strong concept of brand signaling, as in a lot of brands or a lot of companies, especially if they are maybe like a little bit small, or they're a little bit unsure of their strategy, they're not going to commit to expenses like this, which are not going to give you an immediate return. And I think for this is our way of also showing, look, we say X, Y, and Z, but we also do X, Y, and Z, and actually we can do things like this. So I think that this subconsciously shows to consumers and to our public that they are a serious brand that is doing things that we are still a small company, but we do things that big companies do, because that's how we think. And it serves both, but also again, subconsciously to drill into the mind of the user base that Dropout has got big goals, big vision. And again, when we say that we want to be a leading brand within this space, then we really mean it. We've asked ourselves, why are we doing this? And then obviously after, when you've asked yourself why, then when you can go towards the how you're going to do this, and what are you going to do, and all the rest of it.
Tell me a little bit about that process, because I think it sounds like it was a real motivator for you and your team. What did you guys come up with for the why? And then what activities did that sort of push you to?
I think for us, initially, put it this way, I think when I thought about Dropout initially, I was reflecting on the number of stores that I'd seen in New York, in Los Angeles, in Paris, in London, still within the sneaker resale segment. And I think what I liked of them was probably the experience that they provided. Maybe not 100% for all of them, but I think experience was a big factor of it. And I think when we first opened and when we first launched, we were all about, okay, we're gonna sell the sneakers, blah blah blah, this and that. But then we realized that actually it's not sneakers that we sell, if that makes sense. And obviously, yeah, practically, yes, it was sneakers. But if you go a little bit deeper, I think that conceptually it's more about why are customers buying those sneakers, and then why are they buying them from us? And once you start asking yourself those questions, then you go deep and you realize that there's a lot more abstract things that go into it. Someone may be buying a sneaker from us because they may be seeking, I don't know, external validation from someone. The same reason why you're buying that expensive coat that you don't need. Someone may be buying from us because they want to be They want to say that they shop from the exclusive store. The same way that you can go on Harrods in London, or you can go in Saks in New York, or you go in Galeries Lafayette in Paris, or you go to Rodeo in Los Angeles, whatever, when you can probably get the same item online for cheaper. Some of that will have to do with experience, but it will also have to do with, okay, I can shop in that place. And then the other aspect of it that we also thought was people want to buy with peace of mind. And I think that's why a lot of people buy from us. For us, especially the last aspect was about once you understood those bases for your consumer behavior, then you can start targeting more appropriately and more effectively. And once we consider that a lot of customers, I would say, will be buying from us because they develop this trust, even though we sell really expensive items and even more expensive than the competition, then we know that if we do activities that are increasing our credibility, then we can basically increase that user base and that public. And that's basically the idea that we put out. And at the same time, if we are associating our brand with those activities and with those concepts, then we will be creating in the mind of our consumers a correlation between credibility, trustworthiness, and also being cool, and our product and our brand.
How did that, I know you guys have both a retail location and an online store. Our audience is all like e-commerce owners. So I want to focus, like, how did those activities play out in the online world? Like, how did you change what you did, or the sort of outreach or any of those activities?
I can't show you what the website looked before, but I think now, for example, put it this way, if you went on dropoutmilano.com, say 2.5 years ago, the website, I think it was my brainchild. So I'm not going to say bad, but I would say it didn't look as premium, maybe. I think now it looks better. I think now I think we've focused it more. Before, say we had, for example, on the I don't know how you call this, but the bar, effectively, below the search bar, we had a lot of brands, a lot of collections. So now you have about 6-7 voices, which I think is the maximum. I think we already have maybe a little bit too many, but still this is the maximum that we will go. Before we had 10 different options. You could go Nike, you could go Nike Dunk, you could go Yeezy, you could go Adidas, blah, blah, blah. And then we realized that actually we want to make it simple. So I think that actually helped. So reducing some of the options and focusing it more, I think helped online. And for the e-commerce space, a lot of work, which I think probably the most of certainly of my learning and digital work has gone towards, first of all, digital advertising and SEO. SEO has been a huge task that we've taken on. So we've started from internal linking to getting backlinks from publication that mentioned us but not linked us, things of that kind, ensure that we have a good social footprint all over the web. And we've seen, I would say, huge improvements. Now our online traffic is up about, if I'm not mistaken, 300% from a year on year. And I think we're getting close to capturing I'm not going to say the entirety of the public in the streetwear industry, but I think we are getting quite close to reaching certainly most of the people that are interested in what we propose. And I think, again, that's come down to the work done on the structure of the website, SEO, and digitalizing.
Let's dive in a little bit deeper there, because I think those are really interesting topics to our audience. And I also want to cover email marketing, of course, because we're an email company. But if we, just to level set, like, how much traffic do you guys get now, or roughly? Do you have a sense? You have a sense of like how many visitors you get monthly?
So yeah, we get now we are about 300,000.
300,000 visitors. So it's a huge amount of people.
96-97% of them are from Italy, which is, if you imagine that Italy is because when you're in Italian, then your public is significantly limited compared to what it would be, say, in English, for example.
Right. Okay. Let's get into the weeds, as they say, get into the details of what you have found to be like really effective SEO strategies. And then we'll talk about digital marketing and the other part that have helped you guys a lot.
I think, again, probably one of those like boring people that sounds very theoretical, but actually I think maybe because I've been doing this for quite a few years now in general with the business. And I think that if you don't ask yourself why at the beginning, then you're going to lose. That's my idea. Or someone is going to come who's going to ask they're going to ask themselves why, and they're going to do what you're doing better than you. So I would say, number one, again, ask yourself why, and then start answering the questions and go down from there. Now, I would say with the SEO in particular, there are a number of aspects that one needs to consider. First of all, is your website coherent? As in, if you're clickbaiting people into places where they don't want to go, they're going to bounce out of your website, and that's a waste of time. And Google's going to know that, and Facebook is going to know that, and it's not going to lead anywhere. So ensuring that the website structure, I would say it's clear, simple, that you don't have a billion options laying around for all type of things. Because basically people actually don't want, generally anyway, don't want to be given too many options. It creates confusion. It makes them to
Right.
go out. It makes them to go to wherever is simple. That's number one. Then after that is ensuring that you take out all the, for example, ensuring that you don't have a lot of links that are leading to empty pages, or that you're getting a lot of errors on the website. I would say certainly for Europe, and I presume probably applies universally across the globe, ensuring that the website is, I would say, well structured to be viewed by mobile, I think is very important, because even though now I'm sharing my desktop version, but the reality is most of the traffic will be coming from mobile anyway. So that's definitely something that someone has to do. Ensuring that you have internal linking. For example, I should say for example, for us, you go to Jordan, and then again, this is what internal linking is. Link pages of your website inside other pages, if that makes sense. So in our Jordan collection, there are links to the collection for Jordan 1, Jordan 3, Jordan 4, Travis Scott, Off-White, that type of stuff. And doing that will help, because Google will be able to, and social engines will be able to make sense of what your website is about, because what the social engine is doing is following your pages, and it's following all the links to see where they lead, and that's how the website is understanding the structure of your platform. And if you manage to do that appropriately, then Google, Bing, Yahoo, MSN, whatever, they will show you at the top of their search results, and that's what you want. Because the reality is, most people literally, and pretty much crazy, even if they know your website, like they will go to Google. To say, a lot of people to go to Amazon. Some people will be going to Amazon.com, but some people will Google Amazon and then click. If you are in a position where you can appear at the top for the relevant keywords, you are making yourself a huge advantage. Now, this is work that takes a long time. I think before we started seeing significant benefits, it probably took 6-7 months and a good amount of money spent, but it's definitely worth it, because now if someone starts doing it today, that's 7 months behind me. And in 7 months, I'll be a lot farther ahead than I am now. So it's a continuous job. That is a continuous piece of work that someone has to do. And the other big part of it, obviously, is backlinking. So again, that's where this comes handy. If you consider that all of those websites, they have huge domain authority, which means that the search engine, they value those websites a lot. Now, it does mean that if you get, I don't know, like any of those websites, or any website within your industry or within your market, or with wherever your public is, to give you links towards your website, then when the search engine is scrolling that Forbes article or whatever, they will actually follow it through and go on your website. And that will mean that your website is now more validated. But the concept of validation that we have so much and giving you status in real life also applies on search engine. There is such a thing as a website status. And all this stuff is basically geared towards increasing your online status. And if you manage to do that, then you will get significant SEO benefits.
And what has ended up being your most valuable pages? Has it been like the collections pages, or has it been blogs or anything else?
Most conversions start from our homepage. Actually, that's quite interesting, because for us, although the collection pages in particular, the ones for the most sought after styles, are the one with the most traffic, the majority of our visitors that convert actually usually come to our homepage and then basically browse around, find the product that they like, and end up buying that, which means that a lot of people come to a website knowing that they want to buy something, but they don't know what, if that makes sense. And we take that as a huge win. That's something that we really wanted, and it's one of the sort of unwritten goals that we really strive and continue to strive to achieve, is get to a place where people just come to a website because they know that they're going to find something cool, and then they browse and they buy. We don't have a trillion styles that half of them people, or 3/4 of them people don't care. No, we don't do that. We try and stick to what we think is valuable, and what we get is valuable from our data analysis. And that, again, that's something that the search engine really values, because Google, obviously, with the pixel that install on your website and stuff, they are tracking how much time people are spending on your website. And if people are going to your website, seeing that it's trash and then leaving, then obviously that's going to harm your ranking. But if people are coming to your website, they're browsing around a lot, they're staying a lot, then that's going to help you.
That is great advice. Let's transition to another kind of important channel of digital marketing and like paid advertising. In the last year or two, has that been very valuable for you? What channels do you like? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, actually, that definitely has been very valuable. I would say, we've been using ads and ad roll in particular initially since quite early days of the venture. But probably it's gone hand to hand with SEO, the improvement that we've done. And I would say, especially Facebook, I think we have learned over the last year how incredible Facebook can be. As in, before, maybe there was a lot of focus on you do the targeting and you need to know who your customer is and this and that and where to find them. But actually, I think Facebook has evolved so much. They're so good at predicting who is likely to convert and who's likely to just click and just waste the time on the website. That is incredible, the value that they can provide. I would say that for us now, we found a pretty sweet spot in terms of cost per conversion, which allows the ad to drive revenue in a profitable manner. It doesn't necessarily sort of saturate our public, because people get annoyed if you start serving them the same ad or the same ads continuously. So I think that has taken a lot of trial and error, but I think that if one takes the time to go through the different options, that especially, again, I'm focused on Facebook because that was proven really valuable to us. If you go through the options and how it works and you understand the different types of campaigns, then you can get real value out of it. We don't actually, I'm going to be honest, and so we don't use ad roll anymore. We found that's just our very own experience. So it's just my own, just our single case. We found it to be quite redundant in the sense that by using Google Ads, especially now that Google has added a new type of campaign, which I can't remember, I think they're called smart campaigns or something. And that actually is so much more efficient that during that a lot of ad roll portfolio is on Google Network. You basically just pay an extra for something that you can do yourself on the Google Ads web platform. We're now using effectively just Facebook ads, Google ads. We used Pinterest for a while. It wasn't quite doing it for us. We used Waze. I don't know if you heard of it.
I'm familiar with what. Interesting. That's random.
Waze
okay.
ads.
Huh.
And that was quite random because I think when we used it, I'm serious. It was literally, you would open the app. I think we were almost like the only ad in Milan for that.
Yeah,
but
that's interesting. Okay.
Conceptually, I think it's a bit, because the thing is this, you're using Waze most often, you're going somewhere, right? So it's a bit odd to see the direction for a place where you're clearly not going to.
Yeah.
So I think conceptually, it probably wasn't thinking. And also, someone who's using Waze, quite often they're driving. So
they're not really in a moment where they can do it anyway.
Correct. We had to rethink the strategy there. I'm sure there's a lot of value in it, but I think we cannot went there a bit blindly. We stopped using it. We haven't used it since. But if we do think of another use case for it, then we might pick it up again, because I think it's still underused.
What has been your biggest learning in the last year or two, as far as Facebook or Google? Have you focused, okay, we need to really invest in a lot more creative. We need to think more about our targeting. We need to think more about our retargeting. Was there anything that changed or stood out in how you approached it?
I think it was a bit of a general, as I say, approach. It's when we started asking ourselves all those, and I started asking myself all this why.
Yeah.
And that's when you actually go deeper into things, and that's when you start, again, for example, doing ads. But then I was like, okay, why are we doing the ads? So that's when we really go inside, and then that's when you actually start reading into things and learning things. And I think that maybe has been the catalyst, I would say. But otherwise, some of it was more about, I think we became just generally maybe smarter as well, in the sense that some of this is also, like, you open a business right now. A business can be, technically, pretty much any business can be replicated.
Right.
Now, I think your task is not to make your business uncopyable or whatever, but you want to make your business as hard as possible to replicate, and as well for someone to come and do it better than you, if that makes sense. So a lot of this is also geared towards not only creating competitive advantage, but creating a sustainable competitive advantage. That's also why we do all of this, because the reality is, if your Facebook ads are shown, I don't know, every month to 4 million people, which are interested in the streetwear market and speak Italian and whatever, then if you do that for a year, then you can be somewhat confident that maybe a third of them or so, or a quarter of them will remember, will have some awareness of your brand. And for any other brand to come into your space and challenge your position in the space, it's gonna be difficult.
Right. So really investing in brand advertising to build your brand, get yourself out there, have it known, and then that sort of pays off downstream. So that's a nice segue into, I guess, customer retention and lifetime value and things like email marketing. How have you thought about those? Do you think about your customers in LTV, lifetime value basis?
We do actually. We do our best to incentivize our higher spending consumers to stick around, and to ensure that they get a taste as well of the Dropout brand experience as well. And on that, I think if it's visible on my screen, we are looking into Web3 and into the possibilities that Web3 open, and that's why this new addition to a website. So this NFT part is at the moment is just a sign up, but will develop into a section of the website only available to holders of Dropout NFTs. So
tell me about what's your vision there?
I'm really excited with the possibilities that I think Web3 and blockchain allow. And now, in fact, actually, with some on the website, I can probably show you a little snippet. So if you just bear with. Now, at the moment, if you just go there, basically, where you get the form. Now, I will translate this. The form says Dropout lands in Web3 with NFTs that will give access to products, events, and exclusive experiences offered by Dropout. Register your interest to remain updated on drop and news. And now, that's a lot of nice words. And how we're going to use this. So if I show you, for example, now, this price is not an error. Now,
so we're looking at, what's the price we're looking at for the people that are listening right now?
So we're looking at 125,000 euros of sneaker. This is one of the world's most expensive sneakers. It's a factory flawed Jordan 1. As you can see, the tick, the Nike swoosh is upside down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that's actually Vice came all the way from New York to Milan to shoot a documentary on this. It's a pretty interesting story, in fact, I would say. But nevertheless, and this is one of the most clicked single pages on our website. And obviously, no one is really buying 125 grand of sneakers on the website, right? So what did we think? Okay, so we're going to use it as the test run for what we're going to do. Now, I say that the NFTs will allow individuals to take part in experiences, events, things like that. And I will show you right after these what type of events I'm talking about, because we did one before. Now, Web3 actually allows for website owners, for example, to gate certain parts of their website to holders of specific NFTs. For example, in our case, this is just it's basically we're using it as a test product, obviously, to drive traffic to the sign up page. But the thing is this, you can actually only unlock this product. Now, this says Connect Wallet. This in English says Connect Wallet. And I think that in the future, this concept will be very, used by a lot of companies, because it allows you to determine and to block certain part of your website or certain products and basically keep them for only those who've got your NFTs or a part of whatever community you want them, whatever community you're interested in. And now, so in order to unlock this product, you need to log in.
So we're logging in right now with MetaMask, which is a popular crypto wallet.
Correct. Now, actually, I can't remember if I am. Yeah, okay. So because I'm logged in with a different wallet, but basically, because I'm not logged into the right wallet, I can't unlock this product. So as of now, there's no way that I can buy this product. Now, one may think, I think here's where it gets interesting. One may think, okay, why would you block people from buying a product on your website? That sounds a bit counterintuitive. However, the way that we're going to use it is actually we're going to allow people with our NFTs to order products free of charge. So certain products that will be released with a €0 price tag. However, they will be NFT gated, and that will only be available for those people for life, so for lifetime. And that will give a huge lifetime value, not on our side, but on the consumer side. So that's as much as creating a community and fostering a community as it could be. And the type of events, so if I show you here, So in June, for example, this year, unfortunately, I don't have other pictures of this from here. But nevertheless, so, one can see, maybe, okay, wait, maybe I can show it through our Instagram. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can show it through here. So if I just scroll down. So basically what we did, can I find it? No, maybe I can't find it, I'm afraid. Oh, never mind. Oh, yes, actually, okay, fine, here. So in June, we took people on a trip, on a yacht, that Dropout paid for everything.
Oh,
we took
interesting.
we took some Instagram followers, and then basically we took them on a yacht, we offered them food, we get them free clothes, and just as part of a Dropout branded experience, just to show that Dropout as a brand is about doing cool stuff. And whilst we did that, the way that we picked the people was basically through just our Instagram following. But once we will have a community of people that hold our NFTs, we will reserve those type of events for only those who are part of our community. And I think that this type of concept will be used by a lot of companies in the Web3 space, because you can now, with no doubt, identify people that are liking your brand, that want to be part of your community, and reward them whichever way you want to do. For example, instead of doing Instagram raffles or email raffles or whatever, you can use.
Oh, how much will it cost to buy the Dropout NFT?
So the Dropout NFT will cost 174 euros, which for an NFT floor price is not actually that, I dare to say, is not that expensive. But bear in mind that actually, users will get not just all of this, they will also get, so the NFT will come as a graphical representation of this one. So yeah, so this hoodie, basically we've done a digital version, 94 pieces, and they're numbered 1 to 94. So the hoodie looks exactly like this, but it's got numbers here. So it's got 1, 2, 3, X94.
Oh, I see.
And each NFT is unique. So it's not 1 of 94, it's 1 of 1, because the NFT itself they're all different. So, they're all on the same, they'll all be on the same chain, and they'll all be part of the Dropout collection, but there won't be 2 NFT with the same number. And the buyers will get that digital representation, which when Roblox and Sandbox hopefully will develop into higher, I would say, graphical quality metaverse spaces, then we will also create wearable. At the moment, it's not really worth it, because it's all like huge pixels, so it doesn't look very good. It would just look like a black hoodie with a red stripe. We don't bother doing it now, but in the future we will also do that, because Dropout is a trademark. We have a trademark for it. Basically, we'll show those people again what the Dropout brand is about. And again, this is also about future proofing, I think, the brand, because I may be wrong obviously in this, and we may all fail and whatever, but I think that these type of things, I think, give so much potential that we would be passing on an opportunity if we didn't do something now. And I think it's what we came up with to give a huge value to our consumers, so much that actually, 174 euros, but to set up all of this, and from the graphic to the promo to the website integration, clearly we'll be doing this at a financial loss. But again, it's one of those things where we want in 2 years' time people to say, yeah, this brand is doing it, but Dropout did it first, type thing. And I think that's something that is got a huge value, which can, again, later on be transformed in financial value as well.
That is super cool. And I have not heard of any other brands doing that. That is, I think, an interesting first, at least a debut for our podcast. We are going to, of course, have it in the show links and direct people to drop it out. I want to end by talking about email marketing, which is a focus for us. How do you guys approach email at Dropout in terms of like your campaigns and automation, any graphics you do, stuff like that?
So I think email marketing is one of those things where we could be better, especially because of the big traffic that we have. Now, put it this way, I think as I've just shown you, for example, we do collect emails and we do segments. So for example, anyone registering here is going into a dedicated pool of emails, which will give specific communication, which won't be shared with other people. Because really, we're dropping 94 NFTs, so it's not that many.
It's not huge.
I don't need to communicate it to 10 million people to sell them all. You know what I mean? Right. If we have 1,000 people signed up, then that's fine, if that makes sense. We do that, and we do dedicated campaigns, and we do some segmenting in terms of segmenting the Italian people and people that are in the UK, the people that are in the US, the people that are in France. We used to send before weekly newsletters, and they weren't really automated. It was quite a manual thing. Like we were basically drafting them and getting the graphic designer to give us the graphics and then sending them off. but it was quite labor intensive. It did yield clear results, to be honest. I think that email marketing definitely does work. As in, every time we would send a newsletter on, we would get direct sales from that newsletter. It does work. But I think we have always remained constrained to the regular newsletter type thing. Now we don't really do it once a week. Now we do it more like once every 2-3 weeks because it's still manual. But I think that automation is something that we did look into actually before. I do say that we do it one every 2-3 weeks, but we do send the cart reminder. We do send that type of stuff. But otherwise, we don't really go much beyond that. And I think that's another area that I think is on our agenda, but it's not something that we have truly, I think, explored to the full capacity and to the full power that the system can give us.
Got it. Are there any other tools or software or anything else you've been excited about recently that you felt like gave you an edge?
It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky because, to be fair, it's not actually that much in terms of other piece of software. And for us, we do so much in-house data analysis and software gathering and customization that a lot of the time we see things, and I would say, for example, NFT stuff, like that is an integration with a third-party company. And that's something that we needed to have someone else to help us to do the minting, for example.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we tend to do a lot of things ourselves. And I think that's because
it could be in-house too. If there's something you've developed in-house in the last year that you're really proud of, or any data analysis.
I think we do have, it's a bit complicated to explain. We basically we've developed a way of assessing the interest that the brands pose on the homepage, and then we basically rotate them. So we check how much time people spend on this view, for example, the view that I go on, and then we move on to, we do heat maps, basically, put it this way.
Right.
And then we assess the heat maps, and we do from that try to determine this brand is more interesting than that brand, or people are more interested at the moment in black colored products, and then we're going to show more black product colors because they're more likely to convert. And once we sell out, we're going to focus on the ones that are less likely to convert, or the ones that this is left and this is what you have to buy. And that's a piece of software that does that analysis for us. And basically that's pretty much is as close as we could get to what we do for sneakers, for the apparel, because obviously for the apparel, being the only ones, we don't have as much data, so we have to base ourselves on what we have from our own website. And I think one thing that I would say is, especially if you're in e-commerce, the great thing of e-commerce is that you have Google Analytics, and it's at least until next year when the pixel regulation changes. But for now, you have Google Analytics and you have all those pixels and even Facebook, and you can get so much information. I would definitely say a good use of Google Analytics is a huge advantage, is a huge edge, because probably a lot of people aren't making use of the full capacity that those things offer. And I think that's not something, to be honest, I feel I can explain properly in a short period of time, but I think it's definitely something that is definitely worth reading into. And as someone who's got a company, I would say sometimes obviously it's about finding someone who knows, but to me, I think it's good to get a basic understanding, at least get an idea of the concepts, and then go out there and look for the best person that can do that thing that you need. And if you gotta hire them or freelance it or outsource it, whatever you want to do it, but I would say don't be scared of reading into those things, because I think that some of those things, I think sometimes you will get scared that some of this stuff, like, it's not going to give you like a direct immediate return. And I think that being there in the long run and having that growth is really about leveraging the bits that aren't going to give you that immediate return, and understanding where it's worth in the long run to put your resources in.
That is very interesting. Focus on kind of your long-term data analysis and kind of building up a longer-term edge by understanding your customers.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a dashboard or anything you'd like to show off? And if you don't, that's totally fine.
We do actually have a pretty comprehensive custom dashboard, I have to say, but we do keep that for ourselves. And the reason why I say that, I know that I'm not going to say that we guard it with our life, but I know that we're not the only ones that can do what we do, if that makes sense. We may be one few people that do it, but we're not the only one that can do it. So I think I'm going to let people figure out how they want to play that game.
Okay, but really focusing on really extracting all the data you can from your website on people's brand preferences and category preferences and what's exciting.
Yeah,
that seems like a huge takeaway. And that's actually something we're trying to build out for our product as well, to give people that trend information. our listeners should definitely watch closely, because Kola is definitely kind of pushing the envelope in terms of integrating Web3 with e-commerce. So thank you so much. My guest has been Kola Tytler from Dropout, and amazing story, super brand, and lots of good stuff to come.
Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Heroes of E-commerce podcast, brought to you by Risio, a proven email system that's made millions for e-commerce sites. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss an episode. For even more insights, visit our website at risio.com, where we share resources on email marketing that grows sales. Until next time, happy marketing.